America has jacked us up, y'all. It is what it is. Like, we just need to have a level of radical acceptance and know that living in America as a Black person is a constant state of oppression and frustration. I forgot the James Baldwin quote, but y'all know what I'm talking about. And until we release that, we will continue to be kept in bondage no matter where we are. Welcome to the channel. My name is Ashley. On my channel, Ashley in Africa, I talk about living, moving, and doing business here on the continent of Africa. I'm also the founder of Africa Investors Academy, which is a global community of entrepreneurs building location-independent businesses for the growth of Africa. Those businesses are in the industries of tourism, agriculture, exporting, and personal and professional development, as well as content creation. And so if you have an interest in this type of content resonates with you, I'd love to have you here in our family of almost 50,000 subscribers on our road to 100K. We'd love to have you. So subscribe to the channel. And so I want to talk about in this video the best cities to move to in Africa for African Americans. And, you know, there's a lot of content around, and I think it's very intentional. I was recently featured in the New York Times article about Black people escaping America because of racism and trying life out on the continent of Africa. And while it's not for everyone, I agree, there are so many of us thriving. There are so many of us experiencing a beautiful life over and above the minority of people that do decide to return back to the US. And I want to say that what I'm finding is that, you know, our transition and how we transition, that first year is so important. So this video, I'm going to share the best cities to move to in Africa for African Americans so that we can, you know, get through this whole idea of it not being available or accessible or reasonable without this, you know, fear or limited belief system or this lack mentality, because that's really what is happening. And so let me just get into the reason why a lot of us are struggling or not necessarily making it. And let me not say that because I just contradicted myself. The ones that have the voice and that are kind of doing a lot of complaining, right? Let's just talk about some of the challenges we face first, right? Because we have challenges. America has jacked us up. We're coming from a society that has essentially made us entitled. We are dependent upon systems to do things for us that we are meant to do for ourselves. We are spoiled in that entitlement, and we are also coming from a propaganda machine, right? Like, we don't know what we don't know. And most of that includes anything about anything outside of the US. We're ignorant. We are not aware of the global dynamics of life outside of where we come from. We think that what we think is how it should be. And it's quite incorrect. We're misinformed, all the while being oppressed AF. So there is this really interesting instability that we come with, especially when and if it's our first time traveling outside of the US. It's our first time experiencing a culture that looks different to ours, or where we're seeing, you know, a woman maybe be a bit more passive or gentle, or, you know, where we're experiencing religion that looks different, right? Like, we just need to heal and start from scratch, because we have been cultivated in a society that now, being on the outside in, I just see just how programmed we have been. And so we need to heal and start from scratch. But I think in making that transition, cities are ideal for us. as African Americans moving to a metropolitan city on the continent of Africa, because there are many. And in this video, I'm going to share those cities that I think are the best places to move to for African Americans, because cities provide a sense of community with expats from all over the world, right? In a city space, you're gonna see and find people from all over. Oftentimes, you're also gonna have infrastructure that you're used to and that is familiar, and the goods that you're used to. You're gonna find those things because those places know that they attract foreigners, they attract an international audience, so they're gonna make sure that they have goods, services, and infrastructure that is required and expected of, you know, a global world-class city. Cities also provide people who are empathetic to you because tourism technically drives the economic viability of that place. So they have learned to become empathetic. They have learned to adapt to us and accept our ignorance and our, you know, entitlement and our just misinformation, right? They're used to it. They know when they're dealing with an American, they know what they're gonna get, right? And so the cities are, in my opinion, the best place for us to arrive as African Americans because they offer us those things. The rural areas are really important as well. Excuse me, I don't know how I said that. The rural areas, visit them, spend time in them. Just maybe don't move to them immediately. Why? Well, that's another video, but it's the opposite of what I said, right? Because the cities provide the things that we need. And that's why I think it's really important. After 2 years, 3 years, it's my plan as well. Like after 2 years, 3 years in the city of Johannesburg, I plan to move to the rural area because I will have created a community for myself. I will have learned the language. I will have created a level of empathy and awareness. I will have made the type of relationships that I need to sustain myself. I will have navigated the, you know, economic terrain, the legislation, the environments. I will have done the things that are required to do when attempting to integrate into a society. All right, so what are the best cities to move to? This is not going to be a why. This is going to be based on the fact that these are world-class cities attracting a global audience. They have all of the things that I mentioned. And if you desire to move to the continent of Africa, these are some of the cities you should consider. Number 1, Accra. For obvious reasons.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Do you have any temperature?
Yes, she does.
And what about me?
You've had a turn.
Can I play something like?
Yes, but let me finish, okay?
Can I play?
All right, so the next, no,
What are you doing?
let me finish, please. Thank you. Accra. Accra, for reasons that we know. It is a world-class city. Oh, she got attitude. Let me come back. Let me come back to myself. All right. So we know Accra has attracted people from all over the world, celebs, all of that. It is getting really expensive, I am hearing, but you know, hey, there's a big diasporan community there. There's infrastructure set up to receive you. And, you know, from there, figure out your way how to get outside of the city. I know there are people that even in their first year may live 30 minutes outside, right? That's the thing about these global world-class cities. The metropolitan area, which typically means like a certain amount of kilometer radius outside of the city center, provide the infrastructure and all of the things that we talked about that you need. The next city, place in my heart, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. I had a beautiful experience living in Dar es Salaam. Again, it provides all of the things that we talked about. Yes, there are things that you're not gonna get, but that is what happens when you're leaving a country. You cannot have the same expectations that you would have of your home country, because it's not your home country. All right, but Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, beautiful country, peaceful country. It's a place that is very close to my heart, and I believe it is one of the best cities to move to in Africa if you are African American. The next city, Nairobi, Kenya. I love Nairobi. Nairobi is like a mix between New York and San Francisco as aesthetically, but it is a beautiful city. It is a world-class global city. You're getting infrastructure. You're also getting people that speak English. That is another thing that I forgot to say about living in the city, a metropolitan city. You're gonna get a lot of different languages spoken, and English is gonna be one of them. Dar es Salaam was a bit harder, but I'll say that ultimately I didn't struggle with English because there were a lot of people that did speak English. But Nairobi, Kenya, amaze, love Nairobi. And then, of course, Johannesburg. Of course, Johannesburg, South Africa. Love Johannesburg. I personally think that for the diaspora, it is a seamless transition because most of the things that you have a desire to get in the US, you can get them here. It feels in a lot of ways like cities that I explored and had visited in the US. But y'all know I have my videos are always about Johannesburg. So Johannesburg, and then last but not least, and these are in no particular order, Cape Town, South Africa as well. I mean, beautiful world-class city, all of the amenities that you need. These are the best places to move in Africa for African Americans. Also based on the places I've been, right? I have not been to Accra yet, but I know enough people that have been there, that live there. And are any of these places perfect? No, but neither is your home country. So let's not look for perfection, let's look for progress, and let's look for peace. That's why I love living on the continent of Africa. That's why I love living where I live, because I found a level of peace. And so if you're looking for that, that is, don't get the peace mixed up with the fact that you're living off grid in the village, because that's not really peace all the time. That's a lot of hard work. That's a lot of needing of support of other people that may or may not have your best interest in heart. And so my recommendation is to ease your way into that lifestyle. Ask yourself these questions, right? Is there a functional diaspora community in these places? All of the ones that I mentioned, absolutely. And these questions, by the way, came from The Godfather, Dr. O'Shea Duke Jackson, on a YouTube live that he did with a beautiful couple that lives currently in Nairobi. And I tapped in and I love the questions. So thank you, O'Shea, for sharing these questions. I'm repeating them based on what you shared and the value that I think people will get from them. So is there a functional diaspora community? Functional being the key word, right? Are people actively doing things? Are they, enterprising? Are they industrious, right? What is the economy like? Is the economy growing? Is there economic growth in a government plan? I know South Africa, they issue their budgets. Is that government doing that? Are they showing what their intention looks like for, say, 10, 20, 30 years ahead, right? Are there economic opportunities? So people always ask me, are there jobs there? That's not what I recommend doing. I don't recommend coming and looking for a job. Come and look for economic opportunities that you can contribute to, or come with a remote job, or come with a business that is independent of where you live. Some of what we teach in the Africa Investors Academy, so that you can essentially contribute to the economic environment that you're moving into. And what is the government like, right? Are they pretty stable? Is it unlikely that there's gonna be a little unrest? I mean, this is Africa. And so in developing nations where the resources are abundant, where the land is abundant and beautiful and desirable, and the people, right? The brains of the people, there is infiltration for a reason, right? But is the government, and in some cases, stable and on the upward trend? Is the government making calls and things to support the development of humanity? Like, are those things happening? And if so, that's an ideal place to live. And how is the country run? Now, you're gonna hear a lot about corruption, but coming from America, I think that's just the same thing as lobbying where we come from. But that's just a deeper issue that, in my sense, is ruled in mindset and the facts that our people have been oppressed, you know. It is just what it is. And so coming through that experience, we're gonna have bumps in the road. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's okay. But what I'm saying is, when you hear that as a Westerner, you hear corruption, understand what that looks like in the country that you are going to, because there isn't one African that's not going to tell you that their government is corrupt. Okay? Not one. No matter where on this continent you're coming from. Everybody says that their government is corrupt. And they're not necessarily lying to you, right? It's based on their experience and their definition of that, which is also valid. And is there a future plan? So I addressed that a little bit, just kind of in the economic opportunities and the way the government runs. Are they speaking about a future plan outside of election season? And even if so, you know, you can listen to that as well. So these are the questions to ask yourself. Is Africa safe? Yes. In my opinion, a lot safer than the country that I come from, which is a great country. I just don't want to live there. It is safe. And so if you have an interest in learning more about how to move, how to sustain, but also how to create business for yourself and economic growth for the community that you desire to serve in any one of these cities or any of the other countries that maybe I didn't name, please comment those below. Comment those below if you're African American living abroad, where you're living, please. And I know that there are more, right? But these are based on my experiences and the experiences that I am adjacent to with my friends. And speaking of, my friends are going to be joining me for the Africa Investor Virtual Summit, the Africa Investors Academy Virtual Summit, happening next month in March. There's a link to join us below. Experts from all over the continent in Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa are going to be joining us to talk about building businesses in tourism, exporting, agribusiness, content creation, storytelling, how they're able to remain beyond the tourist visa, right, and sustain themselves. People that have lived here for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years are going to be coming to you and giving you tangible tools to turn your vision into action. So if you have an interest, we would love to have you. Click the link below, Africa Investors Academy /virtual summit. Get your tickets. The executive pass allows you to access the private Q&As with myself and the other speakers. Look at the speakers. If you are interested in joining the community of speakers next year, let me know. Put a tag, put a comment. We hope to grow this, and we know that this is going to be extremely valuable for you. So tune in to the Africa Investors Academy Virtual Summit. It is going to be a powerful gathering of people with a love for Africa, and we're also just going to be sharing our experiences. Some of us are creators where we can't share and divulge everything because it's just not appropriate, right? It's just not appropriate to share on public forums and public platforms all the time. But you'll be able to walk away with tangible tools, and those that register for the executive pass will get replays about a week after the summit. So I'd love to see you. I'd love to see you in the private Q&As. Click the link in the description to join us at the Africa Investors Academy Virtual Summit. And until the next video, I'll see you soon.